Day. It's been a while since I've been live out here, just regular on YouTube. So we'll see how it goes. Probably go live later. Do my today's forecast. We're all gonna die thing. Figured I'd get out here while the weather's decent. You know, it is beautiful December weather. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. So, anyways, let's get to it. So, the P. Diddy documentary, just finished watching it. It was actually good. Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, aka 50 Cent, nothing but love and respect. I had the pleasure of seeing and meeting both of these people. P. Diddy back in 2023 at Invest Fest, and then 2024 I got to meet 50 Cent, which was obviously last year because we're ending off 2025 now. So it was interesting to say the least, to see the documentary. But it just, my perspective on the whole thing is, I mean, unfortunately, most of these celebrities are pieces of crap, anyways, and a lot of stuff has come out more so because of social media. You know, Diddy was during the time he first was coming out, we didn't have social media where everything wasn't recorded. You really didn't have cameras everywhere back in the '90s, late '80s, early '90s, like you do now. To where majority of the stuff that you do, you're gonna get caught up, regardless of the situation. But anyways, yeah, Diddy's a piece of crap for the crap that he's done. I didn't realize that he, was accused or actually has done or whatever the case may be, because you don't want to, put things out there that aren't quote unquote true. But I will say that he was known for those specific things, and then of course the record industry and the contracts of certain artists, things what people could call a bad deal or a good deal. You know, I remember Rashad from Ewell University. He said one time there was a good deal when they was talking about the locks, the deal, the music industry contract deal that they had, saying that he said it was a good deal. And then I was just like, well, how was it a good deal? But then he's like, if you sign a contract, he's like, at the end of the day, a contract is a contract, and if you sign a deal, whether you like the terms of the contract, and if you did not read the contract or have somebody to actually understand, pay somebody to read the contract to you so that you can get a better level of understanding, then you sign the contract. You got to do what you got to do. You got to deal with the consequences of that contract. It's just like, shout out to the veterans and the current members of the military. I remember having a conversation with a Marine. And he was just like, "Hey, you signed a contract. You got to fulfill the obligations of that specific contract, whether you like it or not." That I was going back to the days of the Iraq War and Afghan War days, where were being recalled or could be recalled back to service and whatnot during wartime. It's just like the selective service. People have to men have to sign up as soon as they turn the age of 18 or whatnot. That if Uncle Sam calls, you got to go serve your country. So that's just what it is. Looking like some good warm tea when you're outside. But anyways, at the end of the day, I'll start off with that aspect of um, the sad thing is, and I'll just, because I'm not going to, already went into the aspects of Diddy being a piece of crap. I'm not on his side. I'm not nationwide. I'm not on Diddy's side when it comes to the crap that he's done. But when I look at him and I look at a Suge Knight, I've always said this 1,000 times, because I remember doing a video, Suge Knight versus Master P. And I would say at the end of the day that these are people that had it all, and because they either wanted to be in the streets or came from the streets and whatnot, they let their egos get to them. And the word, I do my word of the day is Monday through Friday, but the main word of the day should be ego, because either it's going to drive you to do better or it's going to drive you into the ground. And the ego Diddy and the ego of Suge Knight has driven them to prison. They're both in prison. Suge Knight is in prison for the rest of his life. If Diddy makes it, I believe he got a 50-month sentence, so with time served. So, and a lot of people allege that when he comes out, he's going to be back on top again. Who knows? But all I know is that's allegedly. But all I know is that these are both people who were major figures in the music industry, and both people allow their egos to get the best of them, and the ignorance to get the best of them, and they're not on top anymore. And then the other thing is just looking at it from another perspective when it comes down to it. When it boils down to a Diddy, because it's like I like how the documentary really highlighted the fact that if you, I'm a millennial, so I remember coming up during the time frame when in the music industry. Artists made way more money back in the 80s and 90s compared to now in regards to actual producing music. Now artists make more money via various other vehicles like social media. It's not really through music touring, and then obviously opening, when they make money, having other investments and creating other businesses. And one thing 50 Cent said, he even said this in 2007. He was just like, the music industry is dead. And he said that, this is 2007. He was just like, people aren't, he's like, Dr. Dre and Eminem can't, made their money via the music industry way before he did. He said, and by the time 50 Cent got put on, he was like, okay, this isn't going to last forever. I see the transition of where the music industry is, so I got to be able to transition towards, selling brands, having other investment vehicles, business vehicles, and being able to. He transitioned to the film industry. Hence, we're talking about the P. Diddy documentary. Once again, I'm not on P. Diddy's side. I've never been on P. Diddy's side, and from what I've seen, it is what it is. I think anybody that does that to females is a piece of crap in regards to, rape, domestic violence. I'm cool. I've had a woman punch me in my face and I walked away. So I'm never going to advocate for any sort of violence towards anybody, specifically women, all at the same time. But anyways, so the point I'm getting at the end of the day is that um, I remember, because I don't pay attention to celebrities like that. So watching the documentary, I forgot the transition on how Diddy started off when he left Howard University. He was, because he didn't graduate, he was dancing in music videos, transitioned from dancing music videos to being an intern at Uptown Records. Then from being an A&R at Uptown Records, and then transitioning to Bad Boy. Then from Bad Boy to having his own product line, Sean John's. Then and getting into the fashion industry, having other investments and things of that nature. Then getting into the reality TV show game, because I forgot what was it? By the time I got out of high school in 2002, the reality TV world was really transitioning. I remember making the band. MTV transitioned from strictly music videos to, and summertime vacation beat, what is it, spring break and all that good stuff, to reality TV shows and more and more television shows. And I just noticed that it was interesting when the first making the band happened. During that time, I was actually trying to be a rapper, so I was dreaming of joining making the band. I think, yeah, it was the year I got out of high school. I was about to get out of high school. I dreamed about being on making the band and things of that nature. Even though knowing me, especially being younger at that time, I would have took that crap from Diddy walking from Manhattan to Brooklyn, especially in the cold. That just wasn't going to fly. So, God bless the people that had to do that. But at the end of the day, I will say that, seeing that transition, then seeing the transition to Ciroc. So outside of being a piece of crap person, Diddy was a great entrepreneur, you know. And it's just like, once, because I always say, if Suge Knight would have left that street crap alone, and he could have did the same thing with Death Row Records. I remember when before Tupac got killed, they were trying to create the Death Row East, and even I didn't realize that Craig Mack was thinking about signing with the Death Row East. I remember hearing Jadakiss talking about the Locks was talking about signing with Death Row East. Like, that would have been something. Just imagine if, Tupac and Biggie would have never got killed, the men that they would have became to this day. But they were killed way too young, in mid 20s. But at the end of the day, you know, the the ego, because I would say the word of today is ego. The ego of Diddy has got him to where he is now. You know, it always had to be about him. Uh, every time everybody that's ever even got around him, I mean, they either became so disgusted with the music industry or the entertainment industry, or they just became so disgusted with being around him that they just left the entertainment industry, or they moved towards God, got closer to God, like Sean. He's on his way, or maybe he has finally become the prime minister of Belize. Shout out to Sean. became more devout in his religion. Same thing with Loon. Same thing with Mace. They said there's a thing about people that were around this man Diddy, that made them want to develop more of a closer relationship to God. Shout out to them. I'm not even mad at that. Especially with it being Sunday, and so shout out to anybody who has a great relationship with their Lord and Savior. But it's just, the bravado and the constant ignorance of that was surrounding Diddy at the time. Then of course, like I'm 42 years old, about to be 43 next month. I can never imagine even trying to be with a woman who's 19 years old. I don't understand it, but that's just me. At the end of the day, like, because obviously I didn't realize the whole thing with Cassidy, because once again I don't keep up with celebrity drama and gossip and whatnot, so I didn't even realize it's like, man, old enough to be her father, and he was left his wife to be with her and whatnot. Then he treats her like a piece of crap because that whole dominance with him. It was always about control, power. Power is one of the most biggest drugs on the planet. It can be worse than crack and meth and things of that nature, and that's the ultimate thing that was a part of his demise, is that he had to crave attention, he had to crave power. It was always about him, me. That's how societies crumble. That's how corporations get devoured. That's how relationships crumble, devour. When you're so narcissistic, when everything, and I mean everything, has to be about you, and that's just, at the end of the day, that was his demise. The man was on top of the world, but what goes up must come down eventually, and when you're constantly screwing people over, beating people up, raping them, it's whatever the case may be, you know, karma, it comes back to you. A lot of people ending off 2025, karma's kicking them in the butt. It's kicking them in the gut, and it's saying, "What's up?" That's where karma is at with a lot of people nowadays. And when it comes to Diddy, it's smacking them in the face. And a lot of people that I talked to about this documentary, they're like, well, why is 50 Cent, why did he do this documentary? I said, well, first off, shout out to 50 Cent, because, 50 Cent was the online troll before there was such thing as an online troll, on as far as social media being as big as it is now and a part of everybody's daily life and whatnot. The first song I ever heard from 50 Cent was How to Rob. And literally he talked trash about all rappers from all over the place. But back then he was like, I'm just talking trash, and he knew that by doing this, him being a new artist coming up, it would get him more attention because people love drama. If case in point, if I was on here fighting with somebody or arguing with somebody, the algorithm would love it. Because I was live on TikTok yesterday talking about how ignorance, is welcome and flourished and whatnot, and intelligence has become irrelevant, for as far as the social media algorithm goes. But anyways, the things that Diddy would do from a music perspective, once again, it's just like, that's one thing him and Suge Knight had in common. Now, Suge Knight would ensure that his people were paid and whatnot, but he wasn't showing his people the music business like that, like Master P did for Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg always points that out. He's like, hey, Suge Knight showed me how to be a superstar. Master P showed me the music business. Here's how you handle your business when it comes to your taxes. You need to have personal bank account, business bank account, have these investments and whatnot. Have the right CPA to ensure that you don't get screwed over in your taxes on a yearly basis. Have stuff in your name and not just the company's name or in somebody else's name and whatnot. Like he said, because Snoop Dogg's like, before he went to No Limit, his cars wasn't in his name, his house wasn't in his name, nothing was in his name. Everything was via death row. But he was a young man at the time, didn't know any better. We all have to grow and learn. As the world turns, we got to learn and we got to earn. But and that's just the thing with Diddy. That's why he always, I could tell by even looking at the documentary, he always kept young people around him, to the point where, because he always wanted to be in control. If you even look at the old episodes of Making the Band and whatnot, he would be like I guess in a sense, the hip hop drill sergeant, trying to push you to the end and build you, knock you down and then try to build you back up, but let you know at the end of the day that he was the one in control of your destiny and whatnot. And without him, you're nothing. That was the energy of those shows. That's why I think the second season, I just stopped watching it, because one, I was getting older, and two, I'm just like, well, this isn't entertaining anymore. Because that's the early to mid 2000s, between 2002 and 2005. That's when the epidemic of reality TV shows, Flavor of Love, the Housewives, was all over the place and just growing at big numbers. But at the end of the day, I'll end this live off with, you know, the ego of a Suge Knight and the ego of a P Diddy. The chickens came home to roost. And let me know what you think in the comment section. But the chickens came home to roost, and at the end of the day, you see he's in prison now, and hopefully unfortunately the people that have been hurt by him, hopefully they've healed, the ones that are at least still alive. Because I've noticed that when people got away, like great example, when Mace got away from Diddy, his life got better. He became a priest. He came back to the music industry, but it was more on his terms because he came back as a grown man. He entered I believe he was only 17, 18, 19 years old at the oldest and whatnot. So he was, still in a sense a kid. So he's doing better than ever. And see, that's the thing. I've really been hitting the nail on the head with this year ending off, because this is my gut feeling. A lot of people have a season in your life. They're not supposed to be around forever. They are not supposed to be around forever. Like Damon Dash, is not wasn't meant to be around Jay-Z forever, et cetera and so forth. Snoop Dogg wasn't meant to be around Suge Knight forever. He wasn't even meant to be around Master P. Shout out to the verses that Cash Money and No Limit did. I still need to. That's what I'm going to finish watching tonight. Not some people in your life for a season and a reason, but they're not meant to be in your life for the rest of your life. And regardless of the amount of history, regardless of the bloodline, regardless of your last name or whatnot, sometimes you got to learn, as the comedian Corey Holcomb says, you just got to get the heck away from people. The older I get, I understand more why a lot of people just stay to themselves, because in life at times it's like prison rules, to where the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and vice versa. So you got to constantly be watching your back, because people, snakes are out to get you. But I'll leave it at that. Learn to stay, know when to stay around people and know when to get the heck away from people. The smart people got away from Suge Knight, and some are doing better and some are doing worse. The smart people got away from Diddy. Some are doing better and some are doing worse. You got to look at it like that. Even because after reading 50 Cent's book, I remember he was talking about his first child's mother, how he was trying to put her in position so that they could build an empire together, but she was too comfortable just sitting at the house and not doing nothing. She was like, yeah, I think he tried to help her get a real estate license and have rental properties and whatnot, and she wasn't about that life, so he had to leave her alone. Not saying 50 Cent is perfect, not saying his child's mother has issues and whatnot. They just grew apart. And sometimes you just got to learn that no matter how much fame and fortune somebody can give you, is it worth your peace or not? It is what it is. We all grow apart from people, and sometimes you just got to let people go. Not because that you got. It's not even about having love or hate towards anybody. It's just like, all right, it's time for me to move on. Like we're heading into the winter time now. You got fall, winter, summer, spring. Seasons change, and with life, people change, and with life, people have to evolve, and you got to get away from them. So, anyways, that's all I got. Let me know what you think about the Diddy documentary in the comment section. Like I said, never been on Diddy's side, not on Diddy's side now. Whatever your opinions about him, I respect it, and it is what it is. So, on that note, family, do the great three things: like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. Make money move so you get a little bit like a fool, as they say in Spanish. Bienvenido a la vida. Welcome to the life. I'm out.